All right, everybody, welcome back to the #1 television program in the history of the entire universe. I am Brian Lee Durfee, author of The Forgetting Moon, The Blackest Heart, and The Lonesome Crown, all three books published by Simon & Schuster's Saga Press. Today I'm going to be reviewing The Light of All That Falls. This is book number 3 in the Licanius Trilogy by James Islington. I'll never know how to pronounce that. Anyway, let's talk about the cover first, because you know I love graphic design and cover illustration. It's got a great cover by an artist named Dominic Soponaro. I think that's how you pronounce the name. Soponaro. Not soprano, not soprano. Dominic Soponaro. He did all of the books covers. And, you know, let's just talk about the aesthetics of the trilogy as a whole. As you can see, put them all together and they look pretty spectacular on your shelf. All the spines look great together. It's just a dynamite set of books, you know. I really like everything that's been done aesthetically with the books themselves. The only drawback is they're so white that I feel like I need to be wearing gloves when I touch them. Anyway, there's also a map in this book. A good fantasy map. We always need a good fantasy map. There's an outline. So if you've read these two books and you kind of forgot what happened, there's a detailed outline and synopsis of these books at the beginning of this book. And then in the back of the book, there's a character list with all our characters and all the different magical terms and things are kind of explained in the back. So it's just a really great set of books. Now, I read this one immediately after I read James Islington's The Strength of the Few. Now, this is Islington's newest series. He's 2 books into it. And I did quite like this one enough that I was just like, you know what? I need to finish out the Licanius Trilogy. So I'm just going to go from The Strength of the Few right into this book here. And so that's what I did and finished it. You know, a lot of things were set up in these first 2 books that I was kind of like, okay, where is this all going to go? Now, just to give you kind of an overall feel of what this book is like, I consider James Islington to be the fantasy author that's most like Brandon Sanderson, just overall with everything that's going on, the magic system, the way things are going in the story, the PG rating, kind of like there's no real R-rated stuff in here. It's very clean. Anybody could read it and enjoy it. And then there's just the magic system, and it's same here in these other 2 books. But again, we're in book 3, and again there is a drawback about the magic system. It's kind of like in the first book, the magic was kind of minimalist. It wasn't really banging you over the head. But by the end of book 3, the magic just kind of gets way over the top, very superhero-esque. You know, everybody can just shoot lightning bolts out of their fingertips and just destroy things, or they can fall thousands of feet off of cliffs and just land, and then they can heal themselves and just stuff like that. I was just like, okay, from the slim beginnings of magic in book 1, where it was just like magic was just kind of hinted at here and there in the first half of this book. Now our characters have come so far into magic. It's just like majestic heights of magic that I was just kind of like, well, I mean, I was just like kind of like, okay, too much for me. Too much magic. That's in a series that I adore, which I adore these books. That was the only thing that I kind of didn't like. It was just like, okay, the magic got a little heavy-handed. You know, when Superman and the bad guy are throwing each other around the city of New York or whatever, Gotham, I don't know where there's Superman. I'm not a superhero guy. Maybe that's why I've had problems. Maybe that's why when I get books that are really super focused on superhero level magic, I'm just like, I don't get it. Because I don't even know if Gotham City is where Superman lives or where Batman lives. I don't know. Anyway, you get the point. There's a lot of magic in this book, and it's wildly over the top. So anyway, and I think that same thing about Brandon Sanderson, a lot of stuff. So anyway, but the political intrigue and adventure and the large cast of wonderful characters is the strength of everything about this. Not only that, but as I said in my review of these two books, James Islington is the type of author that decides he's going to try to hit a home run with every idea that he's got. And he's got wild ideas in this book and in these other books that it's just like, okay, if he pulls these ideas off, OMG, but he's taking a risk of striking out. And so it's time travel. Writing a time travel book has got to be hard, but time travel plays a big role in this trilogy, which is massively hard to do. In this trilogy down here, it's more of like different realms of reality, like different, like we've got different planes of existence that our characters are going to. There's multiple universes our characters are going to. So just within these first two trilogies that Islington has done, he's really got some major ideas he's integrating into these stories that can either fail spectacularly or be awesome. They're awesome in this. I like the way he used the time travel to just do things in this book. And that's kind of the thrust of the book. What happens to characters who have time traveled back in time or forward in time or wherever they're going in time, sideways in time, whatever, who know the outcome? What do you do when you know the grim outcome of things or what's happened? So anyway, the basic plot of this is after a savage battle, the boundary is whole again. In the town of Ilin, there's a character named Wirr, Wirr. Now this is a young guy that was a prince who was kind of he fights to he was hiding as a commoner to begin with in these first books, but now everybody kind of knows he's this prince, and he's fighting to maintain alignment. An alliance with Andara's many factions, or the war is going to be lost. Now, imprisoned, another character, Davian, is imprisoned, and then he's freed, and he's forced into the gladiator arena, pitted against the Venerate. All of these things are going to make sense to you if you've read these books. And if you haven't read these first two books and you're watching this review, I mean, spoiler on some stuff, but maybe go ahead and read these books. Watch my previous reviews of both of these books, which I've done. Anyway, Davian has to come to terms with all he has learned about his friend Caden, which involves a lot of portals and time travel and things like that. That's another thing that I've kind of, even in the Wheel of Time, and even Catherine Kurt's Dirini saga, whenever there's like a magic portal that can whisk people off to places, I've kind of just kind of like, I'd just rather see them travel on a horse or walk. This whole portal travel thing. But then I read Outlander and I liked it in Outlander. So, I mean, I'm all just confused in that. So anyway, there's these portals, there's time travel. And Caden, Davian's friend Caden, is confronted with a lot of old sins. Like with this time travel, he gets to go back and, I mean, he knows what sins he's committed. He knows what's going to happen. He knows the deaths that he's caused or will cause, and the reality of the plans that were laid forth by him and others centuries before, and now he's living the reality of what's going to happen. It's kind of like the guy who prophesies, like when the evil lord or the good people prophesy something evil is going to happen, and then it starts to happen, and then there's like, well, I mean, we did prophesy that. I mean, what can we do now? So anyway, Caden is kind of like the main character in this. He's really kind of heartbroken about how it all started, this whole adventure, and how it will end. And he's just kind of devastated, kind of that he knows the answers. And there's another character named Asha, and what happens to her is kind of just way too painful for everybody. And so I don't want to get into this plot any more than that. But I just really liked this. I mean, I actually liked it quite a bit better than... And if you watched my review a few days ago of The Strength of the Few, I'm gonna say I like this better. I so far of the two trilogies, I'm kind of this one's kind of my favorite of the two at this point. So I'm going to give this as a great way to wrap up the trilogy. I thought was satisfied with the ending. Everything kind of wrapped up nice, and and it hit you in the feels in some spots. But I would give this. Gosh, I think this is my real honest thing. I think book one was the best, then book two, and then book three was probably the weakest, but it was still pretty strong. So let's give this about a 9 point. Let's give it a 9.3, like a 9.3 out of 10. That seems about right.